Robert, come on. There's a lot of interesting things surrounding this, but let's have a conversation about this because I think it's a very odd situation to say the
Boy,
least.
odd is a word to put it. For sure, there doesn't a lot of things not adding up here. Tom in the chat room was like, "I'm on this show today just to hear your take on this explosion," because I think a lot of people are confused by it. And obviously, when it just happened last night, I was looking at the video just like we saw here. It's one of the first videos that I saw too, and it's like, okay, and then you're hearing that there's not many injuries. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is not
So
making sense.
no, and it was a duplex too, and
Yeah.
the people, I believe the people were there next door too. So it's very odd. What looks like it might be legit is the guy was kind of that what are the media like to label him that right wing conspiracy theorist, right? He wasn't really a right wing conspiracy theorist, but he had some big huge challenges with the government and some other things, and it looked like on both political parties he had an issue with, and he was very very vocal. Based on me digging into this, he had a lot of challenges with his neighbors. So his neighbors, they would go back and forth and kind of accusational. Um, it's very odd. You know what was really odd for me is when you watch this video and the explosion, you hear some people around it kind of reacting, but the guy that holding the camera, by the way, his volume was on, had virtually no reaction whatsoever,
Hmm.
almost like he was expecting it. And then you add up the fact that what they say is they say that this guy, his name I believe is John Yu, and he's gone and he's obliterated. So what type of explosion is that? Was it completely wrapped around his body and now he's just a mist? I mean, there's so many things that are going on in this that just don't make sense. And I've been digging into it and I can't make heads or tails. I saw the guy's old posts. They were a little bit kind of off, you know what I mean? So I'll give the media that. He does look like he could have had a screw loose. So I don't know. What do you think?
I was looking at the video, and if you look at the video, I'll play it again. And I'm going to turn the volume off so we can talk over it. And one of the interesting things here, Lewis, if you want to, think about it from a pyrotechnic, right? Why were there? But looks like they could be flares, right? That are floating in the air after the explosion. Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, it is said the explosion happened beside the building and didn't come from within the building. And number three, you have to ask the question, what, kind of explosive would have to be in there to have that kind of an impact to completely destroy the house? Could it have been propane? Could it have been natural gas? Could it have been C4 or something else that's going on in there? It's a little
Well,
bit wacky.
love it. Before you play it again,
Uh-huh.
let's dispel the natural gas propane myth. This is a myth that's been propagated by the Hollywood. And where you're in a situation, just go ahead, light the stove, have a fork in the microwave, turn on the microwave, and that spark is going to ignite everything. Okay, it doesn't work like that. I used to be a plumber. Okay, it takes a lot of gas to create an explosion like that. Everything has to be completely sealed off, right? It takes tons of tons. What happens is those explosions, if it's from a gas pipe, they don't generally go out. They combust the gas itself, right? And then they end up funneling right down to the source that the gas is coming out. By the way, I've several times, and this may sound crazy, I've seen gas with fire coming out of it, and we've put our palm or our thumb over it just to stop it. It's that easy. It's only 6 pounds per square inch. So this myth that's perpetuated through Hollywood, and everybody thinks these gas explosions. Okay, when you hear these natural gas explosions, it's generally a pocket underneath the ground, underneath the house that's built up over time, and that is the huge explosions from natural gas. Most explosions that we hear in neighborhoods are actually crystal meth labs or chemicals. They're not gas. So I just wanted to kind of dispel that because people tend to go down that route automatically. And obviously the news media loves blaming it on that. It's not that easy to make a huge explosion. with natural gas.
No, and
Because
if there was that much gas in the air, the person that's in that house is no longer alive. There's not enough oxygen.
they would have asphyxiated
Yep.
a long
Yep.
time ago. And of course, it's a very light gas, so it goes up. So there's a whole bunch of things that go along. Now, is it explosive? Yeah, I knew people that used to fill up 50-gallon trash bags, right, with it, and they would blow those up, and they were fun and loud and so on and so forth. But that's a very contained with a fuse on it, so it's a little bit different than most people think when it's inside of a room or a house. It takes
Okay,
a
so
lot.
what exploded here? Do you think it's
Okay.
yeah? Yeah. So,
Mhm.
much more to be uncovered here. We've got to dig a little bit because
Yeah,
this we're not getting the full story just yet. And I'm, telling you where the news is coming from these days more than anything is on X, is on Twitter, right?
yeah,
Just getting more and more. But that video came from Twitter and it was posted within minutes of this happening. It was already on. It was already online.
yeah. No, right after it, a guy was posting all the really wacky posts that this John Yu guy made. Also,
Yep.
I mean, so they're on top of it very quickly. The news media has nothing on the truthers that are out
Well,
there.
that's really why they wanted to stop Elon from taking it over because the people, you, I, all of us watching, we've got these 4K cameras in our hand all the time, and we have access to a channel where we can just take a video, bang, and upload it. It's there way before the news media can get the narrative around it. And Elon's playing a very interesting role here. He's just cutting right through that, and he's like, he saw that, and he said, "This is a platform we don't want to see go away. It's too vital to freedom." And he's right about that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's America's news feed really is X, and I know it's like I hated Twitter for so long. It was like just a dumpster fire. It was horrible. You couldn't really post anything without fear of getting deleted, and I abandoned it. I had 20,000 followers or something. I just abandoned it. But after Elon took over, I kind of said okay, and then I streamed the first one of the Truth Tours, Truthathons on there. Let me just stream it to Twitter. Let's see what happens. The whole thing, 14 hours of video. Nothing
yep,
happened. I'm thinking, this is cool. And so we've been streaming. We're streaming there right now, all along. And it's a different world now that he's taken it over. I mean, it's not perfect, clearly. We're not looking at it as being perfect yet, but it's certainly moving in that direction. And people
that's
say, where are you
true.
going to get the news from? Well, that's where I'm getting it from.
Yep,
I prefer personally, and I know you're the same way, I prefer the citizen journalist. I prefer the person who is there on scene telling the story or creating, the video that we need to see, the photos or whatever, and getting that up there before the media gets their hands on it. And I've been involved in media a long time, and I've seen what they did here in 2007 when we had the wildfires that took out 3,500 homes here in San Diego. And I saw the stories they were reporting, and I watched the news that night, and I'm like, that's not at all what happened. It's not at all
hmm
what I saw.
no, and we've been lied to for so
Oh
long.
gosh, yeah, yeah.
And I think Spell Song's trying to call me out, saying I was on jury duty. The natural gas blew apart a brick building in the city. Gas can do this easily. No. I work with gas. We used to light gas up. It can absolutely do that. You're 100% right, Spell Song, in a contained area with no leaks. And by the way, a commercial building's gas pipe is 4 to 5 times larger than a residential house. And that person inside of the residential house would have to wear some type of oxygen mask in order to survive the gas itself before it even exploded like this. So it's a whole another level. A commercial brick building, much bigger gas. It could have also had broken pipes inside of it. This guy did not. He obviously was causing trouble. So I get where you're saying, but it's just because he had that experience, it doesn't equate to residential. They're two different things. I've worked on commercial pipes. I've worked on residential pipes, and a commercial gas pipe, volume wise, is tremendously bigger than a little teeny 3/4 inch line going into a house. And as Robert said, you would have to wear a mask with an aerator and a tank and oxygen tank and everything just to be able to survive that until you get enough gas to blow a house up like that. So just not so easy.
We had a rental unit some years back here in San Diego, and we kicked out the renters because they weren't paying rent. And before they left, they turned on the gas stove, didn't ignite it and just let the gas leak in the house. The house is completely full of propane. And, we called the company and said, what do we do? And they said, oh, just go and open the windows.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Don't
open the
smoke.
windows. That's all you, and don't,
Yeah.
don't light up a cigarette.
Yeah. And don't,
Yep.
yeah, just let it be.
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely different residential. Kelly Pete 9 just mentioned something. He said the guy was posting comments in his YouTube channel. A regular explosion inside of the house is doesn't go up. It goes outward and up, right? But the outward blows out all the windows and everything else, right?
Path
To
of
have
least
that
resistance, right?
exactly. So how do you get that much pressure going up unless it was built that way somehow?
Unless it blew up and it was outside the house.
Outside the house,
Then we
right?
don't have a roof. Then there's no resistance. And then,
Exactly.
yeah, the percussion went through the house and blew it
I
up.
think you have a good eye there, Robert, because the more we look at it, it may not have actually even come from inside the house,
Yeah.
which makes the whole story really suspicious.
Unless he had a little garage next to the house or a little shed, and that was loaded with all the explosives, a little tin shed. That's not going to hold an explosion back. It's just going to go, right?
It's a duplex too, so
Yeah.
were his neighbors on top of him or on the side of him? We don't know at the moment.
Yeah, we don't know. So there's a lot of we don't knows from this story, which is, we don't like these kind of stories sometimes, but I think it's really critical to kind of look at the way we're thinking. We're not perfect at this, certainly, but we'll look at the way we're thinking about it and the questions we're asking. And, are you buying the mainstream media narrative? And we don't want you to do that. We'd rather you question it. Now, don't believe us either. I mean, question us too, but question what you're seeing. We may or may not be on the right path here, but what we're saying is what we're being told, the pieces don't fit together. The puzzle pieces are not fitting.
Yeah,
Something's amiss.
I agree.
Yeah.
So speaking about something amiss, Trump has another win versus Jack Smith. We got what is he? The Klingon Jack Smith? I don't know what he is, but it's a small win. But Judge Eileen Cannon, again, which is very interesting because they thought she was a left-wing judge, she again denied special counsel Jack Smith's request to keep some documents hidden in the classified documents case against Trump. So the first question really should be is, why do you want to keep some documents hidden? Right? It maybe because it's exactly what President Trump said was going on. And I believe it was like 230 documents, Robert. So last month, Jack Smith's lawyer asked Judge Cannon to keep documents under seal because it was considered highly sensitive classified information. Judge Cannon denied Jack Smith's request to keep the records hidden. Very interesting what's going on here.
So those documents that they want hidden, it would assume, I'm guessing, what I would assume is that exonerates him if they were released. Or you would look at them and say, well, there's nothing here that's of national security. There's nothing, they're pictures, you know what I mean? There's just nothing. There's absolutely a nothing burger. And again, that would exonerate the charges against him.
Right. So I think you're right. I think there's three different scenarios. Either it's a nothing burger, it exonerates President Trump, or it shows the evidence against the deep state, which we believe that Trump would have wanted to keep that in his hands, right? So that maybe it's that scenario. Whatever it is, it looks a lot better for President Trump than it does the Klingon Jack Smith.
The Klingon, I love it. That's the way to call him. We have fun here on SBG News, that's for sure. We don't play around just hardball and serious all the time. We can make a joke once in a while. Why not?
Yep.
So is the U.S. like North Korea at all? What do you think? Boom.
Maybe there's some more evidence. In an article today by Revolver, just today, actually, it's about the raid of a J6er. And here's what it says. And it's interesting language considering what we just saw. It says the excessive use of force against January 6th victims has reached levels that are so absurd that they now are in the realm of North Korean-esque treatment. Isn't that interesting? It says it's clear that the regime is trying to send a message to anybody who dares to dissent. They step out of line, meaning they don't bow down to the regime agenda. The full force of the United States government will come crashing down on them and their families. It's a KGB-like tactic that is very powerful and rather off-putting to Americans who still appreciate and love freedom. This blatant abuse of power was on full display recently when 20, get that, 20 FBI agents dressed in tactical SWAT gear conducted a raid on the home of a peaceful January 6th participant who had just simply walked through an open door, Robert, at the Capitol. That's all he did. The man was charged with the misdemeanor. So why did the federal government deploy such overwhelming force against this guy? It's a misdemeanor. Why would they do that? Now, their justifications, it was because of his online associations. Okay, guys, that means everybody here, you're all in trouble. Scary.
So online associations, that means if I'm in the chat room and they happen to not like who is in the chat room with me or what video I'm watching, that's an association. Loose, yep. But it's an association. I mean, there is no end to it, right?
Nope, there isn't. And if you conducted a misdemeanor, you're going to have 20 fully armed, swatted up FBI agents at your door to drag you out of your house.
Wow.
Because of your associate. A misdemeanor, guys. Misdemeanor. Most misdemeanors, by the way, don't even see jail time. And people really need to consider that. That's all they have on this guy, and they're going to treat him like this. Very Robert Stone-ish, isn't it?
Very much.
I mean, not Robert Stone.
Robert David Steele, right?
Roger Stone.
Oh, Roger Stone. Yeah.
When they took him out of his house.
They took him out, yeah. And yeah, there's a bunch of them they did. So I got a note from Denise Bliss Phillips saying Arlington is one of the cities on the DEF CON list. Yep. Interesting. But we don't know if anything's related to that, but we'll see as this story unfolds, because there's more to be told here. Clearly.
It's crazy.
Isn't it cool how we just get tips and stuff as we're live? As we're
I know. It's so cool. And because we respect our audience, we communicate with them.
Yep.
I don't see Fox News or CNN looking and getting tips live. They wouldn't even mention them.
Well, we know some of these
outlets you're peons to them.
Some of these outlets do watch us. It's interesting because you can see some of the things that we cover here will show up on their shows tomorrow.
I know. I feel like we're supplying some good content, but ultimately the word gets out and that helps. So it is what it is.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hey,
okay, so we did the Jack Smith one.
Yeah, I skipped past it. So, real quick, why don't you talk about your little kitty?
I think you have such a great kitty story. Oh my gosh, my little kitty! I am Lewis. Thank you for taking me and showing me the Pets 24/7, because the kitty is completely rejuvenated. We were literally 3-4 weeks ago thinking about, okay, what do we do? Should we get a mobile vet to put him down? He wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking, he was in really bad shape. And he started a little bit, eating a little bit, drinking a little bit. And then I ordered the Pets 24/7 stuff. It came in. He didn't like it the first day. And then I did the trick of mixing it with his existing food. And now, oh my gosh, he will not stop begging for it. 3 times yesterday I had to give it to him. And when a cat begs, you can't say no, right? You have to give it to him. So he's got all this this kitten-like energy, and he's 13, 14 years old now, and he's just completely rejuvenated and feeling his hindquarters. We can't find them anymore. After a week, literally a week on this product, it blew me away. Let me show you a picture of said kitty. This is Thumper. And interesting story how he got his name. We'll tell you that someday. If you want to find out more about that, it's renegademedia.tv/pets. And there are a number of you I know who have already ordered. Thank you for that, because it does support our show. We earn a small commission for it, renegademedia.tv/pets. And you can rejuvenate your pet. And I know, Lewis, your dogs are having similar experiences too. You've got an older one that's just come back to life a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, he's 17.
Wow.
He should be gone. We were in the same scenario months ago where, okay, looks like we're going to have to, ease him to the end. And next thing you know, he's jumping up, and he still has a hip issue, but it clears up about after standing up for 2 minutes.
Wow.
And the way he's walking now is so funny because he's like, doot, 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 doot. He's 17 years old, and his ears are perked up. Um, he's a happy dude. So, I still don't know how long he's going to last, but I can tell you what, he's way past his expiration date, and it's based on the food and the mushrooms from Pets 24/7 that we gave him. One of my dogs had a huge. That's about half size. Actually, I think that's even smaller now. So it's pretty phenomenal what this product does. So, and I've talked to a lot of people that they've only fed their dogs and cats raw meats and all natural. In fact, I think you were one of them.
I am one of them. Yeah. Raw chicken
And
liver every morning and only organic food for the cat and no bad stuff. And he goes out and he gets himself an organic mouse every day, free range, wild fed,
free
you
range.
know.
So, so yeah, even if you think you're doing the best for your animal, you'd be surprised because I've heard a lot of stories of people that are feeding their dogs and cats raw food, and then they get on this product, and the next thing you know, they're good. I think you even said that he used to jump up on the bed, then he hadn't for a while, and now
Yeah,
he's
and
jumping.
he would flop on the floor and wouldn't move. And it was like he was really sad to see that because that's not his normal self. He would always jump on the bed and wake me up in the morning. 6:30, he's on top of me. He's like meowing right in my face. Feed me, it's time. Yeah, but I'm sleeping. I don't care. It's Sunday. I don't care. It's time. And he wasn't doing that. It had been about 6 months he hadn't been doing that. And after being on this food literally for a week, he's back to that again.
Amazing.
So I don't get much sleep, but it's okay because the cat's got to eat. You know
Yep.
how that works.
Yep.
So I'll put the link up there one more time for you guys. Renegademedia.tv/pets. That's where you'll find that information.
Yeah, and so you know, folks, anything that we recommend on here, they're not only products that we're knowledgeable about and we believe in. A lot of it has to do with the people we believe in too that are part of the company. We've met the top leaders and the owners in most of these companies that we recommend, and they're all amazing. Great quality patriots with a great soul. And so it's very important. So we're not only supporting us, you're supporting them, and you're making sure that you're getting the best of the best.
And you really have to go watch the video on the Screw Big Gov channel because Lewis did an interview with, is she one of the leads of the company, the lady you interviewed?
And yes, she was.
Okay.
But say it again. I'm so sorry. I got distracted. I was reading something.
Yeah, the video that you did of interviewing the lady from Pets 24/7, it was phenomenal in
She's
terms of
one
the
of the
amount of
leaders.
information that she doled out and what the pet food, the good pet food you think you're buying in the stores and what it's really made of is pretty
Right.
shocking.
Yeah, and the information she doled out only about 15% was on the actual company we're talking about.
Right.
85% is just really good information
Yeah.
that's out there for sure. Spellsong said, "Can I give this to my old two-legged friend?" Well, they do have products there that are amazing that they found a loophole on. So if you go on their site, go on Robert's site and click human, and
There's
you'll all
cats,
will be,
dogs, and then one is called human. Yes, three.
yeah,
There's
you'll
three
all be
ones.
blown away. And there's a reason why they do it that way. But I can tell you, the results that they're seeing are what people would call miracles. Let me just put it this way. And they found a loophole because it's on the pet side, I think. I don't know, but it's very cool what they're doing. I can't say too much more. I can tell you though, it's awesome.
Yep.
And I don't want this to be one big commercial, so let's move on.
Okay.
So speaking about food, there's the food delivery gig workers in Texas now must be paid about $18 an hour. Did you hear about this?
This is New York City.
Exactly right.
Yep.
Right. So now they have to pay them $17.96 an hour. But the little secret is their goal is in a few months to get them up to $20 an hour. So what they're doing is they're treating these are contract workers. They're treating as minimum wage employees. So what that does, and this is a game that I dealt with in California all the time. So it's very interesting that it's in New York because it should have been in New York a long time ago. I mean, based on their policies, not that it's a good policy. So, anyways, the appellate court in the state on Thursday upheld a previous ruling from September, despite the company's attempts. Companies obviously would be Grubhub and so on and so forth that were fighting this because what happens is they had a system where they would pay like a half a dollar, I believe it was per minute per delivery, right? So that's averages $30 an hour, plus they would get tips. They were actually getting paid pretty well. You know how you know they're getting paid pretty well? Because you see a lot of people doing these jobs. They're not going to keep this contract job if they're not making some money on it, right? But of course, the government wants to get their hands in it and they want to regulate it. But guys, let's really be honest. Why do you really think that they want to imply a minimum wage on this? Guess what they get to do? They get to put an employer's tax on top of that. Oh, what? That's right. You get to tax it if it is a sanctioned regular job, they get to tax it. But they actually tax it twice because you know what else they do? Now they have to offer workers' comp. Oh, and guess what else they're going to have to do in New York eventually? Then they're going to have to offer health insurance. And that means that burger that you would normally pay $15 for delivered is going to cost you $50. This has zero to do with taking care of the people on the bicycle and everything to do with New York making a whole bunch of money and paying off their health insurance lobby and paying off all the other lobbies. This is game. This is a whole money laundering scam. Just what do you think, Robert? I mean, I'm so familiar with the way this works. It has zero to do with taking care of the employee.
You missed the biggest one. The biggest one is that they want to get them to pay union dues. This is what's going on here in California. They went after the gig economy. It wasn't just for workman's comp. That's one piece of it. The other piece is now they're going to go after them for union dues. They're going to make them all unionized. And that's what funds the Democratic Party is the unions. You see how this works, the step up? So they're doing the same game now in New York, and they'll get to that point where the unions will be involved in this. And you're right. Look at how fast it's grown in the last 10 years.
Well, I mean, you're onto something because originally when the New York first came after these companies, you know what they came after? They try to make them classify themselves and register themselves as taxi companies.
Yeah, and you have to pay for the medallion, and the medallion in New York City is a fortune, right?
Oh, and they only limit a certain amount.
Correct. So they can control it.
So in essence, they were trying to push a rule or law on you that you couldn't do anyways. Therefore, correct. It would save the taxi companies. So yeah, I think you're definitely onto something for sure.
Yeah, and you know they got to protect that industry because that industry makes them a ton of money, and you know they want people to be paying taxes. You're right; they want to be on the books with it because they get a lot of tips, a lot of it's cash, a lot of it's whatever, and you know it's one of these things. It's like they can't track it. They went after the restaurant employees in the same way. You know, the restaurant employees used to be paid 75 cents an hour. What? But they'd make so much on tips, they didn't care.
They wanted that 75 cents an hour because all their income was tips.
Yep. I applied for a job to be a car salesman, and way back when, in the 90s, I didn't know what I was wanting to do with my life, and they said, your salary is $75 a week. Like, really? I said, yeah, but it doesn't matter. If you sell 5 cars a week, you're, $2,000 a week. Okay. Yep. It's all commission, right?
Yep, exactly.
So
speaking about making a lot of money, I think Mexico may have a lot more money than we think.
You think so?
Yeah.
What's going on? Because Mexico doesn't have any industry. What are they selling?
It's a great question. They do have some industry, right? And internal, believe it or not, they've had some growth. What I don't understand, here's what doesn't add up to me. They've said they've had some growth internally, but yet there's a mass exodus from there at the same time. I'm wondering if there's some government infrastructure that's actually getting money from the cartel. And if anybody understands what you think is the Mexican cartels, they're actually financed by American cartels, Fortune 1000. I'm not quite sure how the money is getting there, Robert. That's an excellent question. But I would say, based on who would benefit from the most, the Fortune 1000 companies that are connected to the United States would benefit from it the most. So I would not doubt that the funding is going through them and possibly, hopefully not, through the Mexican cartel back to the infrastructure that would build this stuff.
So you're kind of confident then in saying it's not coming from, well, they've invented a computer chip or they've got some software or they've got something. what we would normally expect that would drive that kind of money. They've got great tourism, they've got great resorts, they've got clean beaches, they've got no crime. All the rich people are going there. That's the kind of thing I'd be looking for. I'm not seeing any of that though.
Well, there are sectors of that, but mainly there. Well, and we do have industry that's been moving there from the United States,
Mm-hmm.
but not in the dollar amount that they would collect from taxes to fund anything like this.
Yeah, it's not
This is
Dubai, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
This is massive. It's massive. Yours is the best question, and I can only make assumptions from what I understand about the money that comes from the American cartel, which are the Fortune 1000 companies. That's probably somehow you'd be able to track it back to them. I have a
Yeah.
feeling.
Well,
And
that's
then
our
if it
gift.
does, say,
Right. There has to be something nefarious because nothing above board looks like it's actually happening to drive what's going on there. That's all I'm
right.
saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you
Hi.
happen did you happen to grab the Tucker Carlson talking about John Kerry?
Yeah, I did. The climate hoax guy. Here's your answer.
Yep. So Tucker did a great job at this. There's two things I want to point out is John Kerry said he's getting militant. All right. That 80-year-old's never been militant in his life. What he's trying to do is he's trying to anger the young population to make them go militant and do things about this climate hoax that he's perpetuating on everybody. So that's just, we have to be clear about that. That's
Yep.
all he's trying to do. He's
Yep.
trying to raise something up that doesn't exist. Secondly, he said, I don't understand how adults in leadership will let things like this happen. Okay, or people get hurt. He's projecting. He's literally saying what the cabal does, which he's a part of a deep state cabal, about the fact that they are constantly doing anything. So he's literally just projecting what they do. This is one of the sickest of the sick, right? And isn't it interesting that most all these people, other than the coven, that are trying to so-called impose their will on us are 75 plus right now.
There's no
Talk about it.
mistake in that, Lewis. That
Nope.
generation, that group is very very much all together, and they have the same thinking. And aren't those people 75 plus? They were born after the Great Depression, right? The greatest generation.
Right.
These are boomers, right?
Yep,
For all
pretty
intents and
much.
purposes, this is a boomer generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. They're whack jobs, but they're all part of this weird deep state cabal
Oh, yeah.
controllers.
These are the ones who grew up in the 60s.
Go figure.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that makes sense. I'm a boomer. I'm the very last year of the boomers, 1964. But I'm really not one of that generation. I'm more Gen X than anything,
Hmm.
like you are as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. So these are the boomers. These are the ones that grew up in the 60s. They were always anti everything, right? You look at the hippies, right? The hippie generation, really what we're looking at there.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because a lot of people don't understand this, and this is a great subject. The hippie generation was was controlled by the CIA.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They started, the hippies did their thing like anything, and they were getting a lot of traction, and then they were infiltrated by the CIA. And that's when they introduced a lot of acid into the hippie generation. Um, Believe it or not, at the beginning of the hippie generation, that did not exist. So then they combined the two messages, and then the CIA was able to control them. Ironically, is the hippies of the 60s and 70s were what? Anti-government.
Yeah, they were completely.
The leaders that were part of the hippie generation that were anti-government are now completely pro only government control. So they've taken that and they've manipulated it. This is why now the so-called Democrats in college are completely different than the ones that were in the real ones from the hippie generation.
Yeah.
The hippie generation would say, absolutely, you're not imposing anything on us. I'm not going to listen to you. We're going to go about our own business. We like our sovereignty and no war. By the way, that was the hippie generation of the 60s and 70s.
Oh no, that kid that was working in the coal mine,
I know, working in the coal. Right. I don't know. My wife
totally
would call
black.
them, She would call them traviesos, right? Now,
Oh,
is that kid you're talking about? Is he going to get in trouble for blackface?
I don't know, but how do you get that off the kid?
If so, the kid after them has to get in trouble for whiteface because the flower popped up over his face,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
I like the kid putting the water hose in the gas tank. Oh, that's great.
I know. And the father was smiling, laughing. When he's going over to grab him. Hey, little Johnny.
What are you
Hey,
gonna
don't do
do, right? I gotta admit, I was the one destroying the wall when I was that age. My brother
Yeah,
and I destroyed the walls in our bedroom and just the plaster, everything. My father had to come and panel everything because there are holes everywhere.
you're the one.
We
Yep,
realized how easy it was to break the plaster, so we just took the bars from the bunk beds and smashed the walls in.
yep.
Kids do the weirdest things. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, it's true. Hey, let's get into some WTF moments for the folks watching here. Um, so let's play Lindsey Graham. We're going to play two videos of Lindsey so you guys can see the contrast. So let's play the first one and then we'll have some commentary.
Free or die.
Free or die.
Now you are free,
Yes.
and we will be.
And the Russians are down.
It's the best money we've ever spent.
Thank you so much.
No, it's
And it's the best money we've ever spent.
Oh,
So
brother.
that's Lindsey that we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the Lindsey Graham, the blustering Lindsey Graham, who was on, oh my God, what's Judge Kavanaugh? Was Judge Kavanaugh's hearing where, Lindsey came out and he blusters and he promises he's going to do all this and go, Lindsey, and it does absolutely nothing, right? And except he goes home and puts his high heels on and he calls Ron DeSantis. Huh. Except for the billions of dollars you already sent there. So
Yeah.
I'm a tough guy. I'm not helping Ukraine until we help ourselves. Is he backtracking? Is this blustering Lindsey? Or is this real Lindsey now? Or the White House has said this is the way that you need to do things? What do you think?
Well, go back to January 6th, right? And that whole thing was set up because they were going to stand in the breach and they were going to send the vote totals back to the state. Exactly. And so Lindsey Graham was all for it in the morning. And then the riot broke out. And then did you hear what he said after that? After what I saw, we're voting, we're certifying this election. Trump is no good, blah, 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 blah. And complete 180 because of the event. That wasn't even the event that they tried to make it out to be. So he flipped in a matter of hours from being staunchly going to stand in the breach to screw it, we're certifying.
So what does that tell you? He knew the event. He knew the event was already going to happen.
Yeah.
He's an actor. That's we've been saying here forever. These are actors playing a part, and you're not going to like it when you find out the truth. Maybe I just had a discussion with somebody today. I said maybe 6 in all of Congress are legit. Think of that.
Wow.
Over 400 and only 6 may be legit, and that's a maybe at this point.
Yep. So you got Anna Paulina Luna, Josh Hawley, we got Marjorie Taylor Greene. We don't know. Sometimes she's good, sometimes she's not. She's supported McCarthy. Who knows?
Jim Jordan, on and off. I mean,
exactly.
You know what? There's not, and these are all. There's a maybe by most of their names.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad, guys. That's what we have to deal with, and this is why we say it does not change without we, the people, getting involved. That's it. And by the way, involved in the primaries.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the general election. Ignore general elections. Here's why. What the deep state does is they focus all their efforts on the primary. You're like, Lewis, why would they do that when all the money and all the time is spent on the general election? No, that's BS. It's a myth. It's optics. All their energies are put into the primaries. Now, why would you ask would they do that? Simple. You already know the Democrat guy is corrupt. He's their Democrat. They already know where he stands. That's their guy. He'll listen to anything they say, whatever it takes to get in office. So you know that. So what they do is they focus all their time is positioning a rhino to take that second spot. Now, it doesn't matter. They'll lie. They'll pretend. The guy's a MAGA, whatever it is. They will get their guy to take that spot. So now when they're in the general election, there's two people on the same team running for what appears to be opposite positions. At that point, they don't care who gets elected. So when you guys get all fired up about the general election, I'm sorry, it was already over in the primary.
Yep.
And until we, the people, figure that out and fix these elections.
5 hours of video out per day. There's 40,000 hours. This is going to go till 2035 before they get all the video out. And now they have to go in and blur people's faces. You know how much work that is? I know from a video perspective, that's crazy amount of work for each video.
I agree.
It's insane.
And I'm going to offend some people, but that dude's a fucking liar.
He is.
And this is what you guys are dealing with. And this is what you guys get so excited about. Mike Johnson gets in there when every single Republican voted for him. That should be a clue.
Red flag right there. Yep.
Think about it. We have to think about these things. And we ride this roller coaster. We're so excited. Oh, look at this. But no, this guy is a liar. There's no reason why he would have to blur faces so the DOJ doesn't prosecute somebody when the DOJ has had these 40,000 hours the whole time. And this is what they've used to prosecute people already. So that's bullshit.
And they're not going to have the faces blurred. The DOJ, they're going to watch the full video.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's not protecting we the people. It's horse shit.
Yeah.
But the problem with the spell casting, and this is what these people do, this is spell casting. They watch it and they're like, okay, I get it. He's telling me it's a. So what they do is they hear what he's trying to get you to believe. Everything's okay. We're doing our job. But they don't break down the messages. And this is what we, the people, have to get better at. We need to break down the messages. We need to hear what they mean, not what they say. And it's freaking, it's getting on my last nerve because we, the people, are the ones that are accountable for this. As long as we accept this bullshit because he has an R next to his name, we lose. We've lost completely. We have to hold all these criminals accountable and immediately expose this stuff. I'm so glad you showed that video.
Yeah, we've got to get January 6th prisoners out. We've got to get them out. We've got to get these prisoners out. They're being abused, and there's no reason for them to be locked up. None whatsoever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Perry77 says, y'all don't think this is a tactic. The White Hats to draw this out for other purposes. I don't see what the benefit of that is. Just don't do any videos. Why put out five hours a day? You know, like Robert said, we're going to be here in probably 2035 before they get everything out. I think the reality is we have to learn, if the lesson is here, you cannot put any trust in the political class. You just can't do it anymore, period. In fact, I'm going to bring it up. They're doing something great in Phoenix tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors this meeting. This is the last Board of Supervisors meeting in Maricopa County, and a great team is down there, and they're going to do some really great things tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors meeting. I will be paying close attention to that and some other things. I'm trying to tell you guys, as we have for a while, Arizona is the keystone to everything United States. And it sounds funny, but it's not an accident that cages the accident that Fox News called Arizona first. There's a lot. It's not an accident that the borders are most porous where? Arizona. It's not an accident. There's something called Skybridge where you can fly past customs legally from Mexico into Arizona. You guys need to pay attention to Arizona. Where Arizona goes, the rest of the country will follow.
Very true. Very true.
And I'll be coming up with some reports.
So apropos for this time of year.
Yeah, no commentary whatsoever from me. That guy nailed it.
That guy nailed it. He had it.
That was
God, the creativity that comes out in some of these videos is just stunning.
The creativity that comes out from the Patriot videos are stunning.
Yeah.
From the Marxist videos, they just cuss and call you names.
Well, they're not as creative as we are.
Shit. Your hair is like this. It's like, oh, come on, man. Have some creativity.
Yep.
Hilarious. But
have some fun with it all, right? That's what you got to do.
That was beautiful. So it's very, very interesting. We're going to play another video here from a WTF moment. If anybody wants to get fresh crab, I mean, freshest crab you can possibly get, we found the video for you.
There's not much in the way of audio here.
What the heck? Well, the good news, like I'm saying, they know they're getting something fresh.
Yeah, you could walk through the grocery store and see that. You don't think it would freak out some of the customers? Imagine being in Costco.
It's amazing, amazing. Now, is that it? I thought the video goes up in the upper right-hand corner. One started moving also.
It does. Where is it? How come it doesn't have the whole
It
thing?
just-
That's
I-
interesting.
Guess it just froze.
It just
But
froze
anyways,
on
guys,
us.
there's like 2 or 3 of them that were moving around on there. So their intention, I don't think, was to sell the crab being that fresh, but that would freak somebody out. Imagine holding it when it started moving.
I'm looking here. Yeah, you know what? It doesn't have the whole video. That's really interesting.
Yeah. No
Only
worries.
has 8 seconds of it. Okay, well, it happens.
So one of my favorite topics is frequency, but more relating to sacred geometry, not sacred gematria. People get that confused, but sacred geometry and frequency and healings. So we're going to play these 2 videos together. We're going to play one. They're completely autonomous from each other, but you'll see how they correlate to each other. So we'll play the video 1, and you'll see how the video 2 comes into play. And then I'm probably going to be out of pocket tomorrow, guys. I'm doing something I consider very, very important. If I can report back to Robert, I will. But so for now, I would bid you good night and watch